I'm walking along, minding my own business, and you tell me there's like a herd of elk out your front window. How the hell do you have a herd of elk out your front window?
Well, it just happens to be where we live, and there was actually a head of that herd of elk was a huge bull out there this morning. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Man, all I have is noisy neighbors. Well, the elk are noisy, aren't they?
In the fall, they're particularly noisy when they're bugling and it's rutting season. So
I love that stuff. Well, I have something really interesting I want to chat about because as we think about what our show is about, and it's a big part of it is things that when I say wish we knew when we were younger, I wouldn't change 1 minute of my past life. I have zero regrets, the good, bad, all of that, none. However, I'm deeply, I have a lot of gratitude for the lessons I learned. Not necessarily for the struggle I went through to learn the lesson, but the lessons absolutely, and those lessons come in all different ways. Some have a struggle that precedes them, and some don't. And at the ripe age of 70, about 2 weeks ago, I heard a word. I didn't know. I was like, what is that? I don't even remember the context in which I heard it, but I looked it up. I'm that guy. I take notes of stuff I don't know. And then when I have time, I go look things up so I will know about them. And when I looked this up, I was just surprised that I'd not heard it and thinking this is the kind of thing for us to talk about because now the people who watch or listen to this episode will hear it and will get great value. I'm confident. And the word was ikigai, Ikigai. It is a Japanese word and it means purpose. And as I was doing research on it, I learned that if someone does Google this, we'll talk about it. They will see a tremendous amount of graphics that look like Venn diagrams,
mhm.
and then you will find an equal number of Japanese people who've written it and say, "No, that's not it." It's
Oh, really?
which cracked me up because it's so deeply ingrained in who they are to understand what their purpose is. It's
Hmm.
just very, very deep. And it's so deep that what I read is like you can't explain it that easily. It's too big of an idea. However, for our Western minds, this works really well for me. So I want to give ample credit to this idea to is probably thousands of years old, possibly, but only it's 2 weeks old to me. And the easiest way to explain it is what are the components of your purpose?
Mm.
So I would kind of ask the person who's listening right now, do you know what your purpose is on the planet? And I'd
Are
ask
you
you,
asking the listener?
I'm asking the listener just to think about that. So what we're going to do is a quick little exercise, and then we'll talk about that bit. So if you draw four circles and have them overlap, so there's one above another one, and then two. Let's talk about east, north, south, east, and west. Look at it that way, right? I'll post a picture in our show notes. And then so the north and the west intersect, the west and the south intersect, the south and east intersect, and the east and the north intersect, and they all intersect in the center, which is your purpose. The top sphere And I've been practicing Sodotu, which is, remember, see one, do one, teach one. So I saw this and I've been doing it myself, and now I'm teaching it because it's, again, I wish it implies regret, but I'm so glad that we're able to share this with the men and women, anybody listening. So that top circle is, what do you love? What do you love? All, and if you, in my world, what I would do, I made a circle and I wrote all the things I love. Okay, so the circle then over on the western side of this is, what are you good at? Like,
Okay.
what are you good at? Right. And I think we can all answer, like, what are we good at? Like, good at listening, good at, I mean, hard skills, soft skills, whatever. What are you good at? Okay.
So the love would be on top, and the good would be about where 9 o'clock would be. Is that
Exactly.
okay?
And then the bottom circle is, what can you be paid for?
Hmm.
Right. And look all the way back. Like, I think of all the jobs I've had in my life. And I've painted Christmas windows, and I've painted signs, and I've worked in professional kitchens, and now I am a showrunner on podcasts. I can just think of all the things you can be paid. Okay. So now over at the 3 o'clock, or the Eastern one, is what the world needs. So according to you, what does the world need? Now I'm guessing, as I say that, the first three were pretty easy. You could imagine what it is, but what does the world need? In the context of this relationship, you and I in the Elder Council, the world needs eldership. The world needs to rethink how we deal, or how we think about our elders, rather than warehousing them. How can we showcase them? Okay? So those four things combined, when you've nailed that, that's your purpose. So if we look at what you love and what you're good at, where those intersect, that's what you're passionate about. Those are the things you're just like, oh man, I love that. That's like I'm really good at research. I love learning. So what I love for me is learning. What I'm good at is researching. And my passion is deep exploration of a topic until I've consumed everything I can about that. And back in the day, I read the World Book Encyclopedia when I was 12, right? I did. The 1925 edition.
Actually, that's so funny, because we had what was called the Book of Knowledge encyclopedia, and I literally did the same thing.
See,
There were 20 volumes.
there you go. There you go. Exactly. So that's my passion. So if we then take what you're good at and what you can get paid for, that intersection is your profession. Right? Because we know what you're really good at, and you can make money. So in your case, up until you met me, was with working with clients one-on-one, and now that's been expanded, right?
For sure.
Right. But that's your profession, right? So we know that. Continuing around the circle in terms of what you can get paid for and what the world needs, that's your vocation. And the difference, vocation is bigger than profession. Your vocation is, someone, this is why they're here on the planet.
So it's more of an umbrella kind of a perspective.
Yeah, very much. So I can, in a big sense for me, what the world needs is access to new ideas and new thinking. I believe that. And what I'm really what I can get paid for is being an executive producer of events that are idea driven, helping people do that. So do that all the time. And so that's my vocation, is being able to do all those kinds of things so ideas can get out into the world. Okay. So continuing around what the world needs and what you love, that's your mission,
But they understand.
right? That's your mission, because there's no money involved in your mission. It's like, I'm on a mission to do this thing. TEDx is a good example of that. I've been on that mission for many, many, many years, right? And there's no money involved in that, yet I still do that because that's my mission. Okay.
Right.
So just to review, what you love, what you're good at, what you can be paid for, and then what the world needs, leads to your passion, your profession, your vocation, and your mission. And I think going through the exercise of doing this, sitting down in a quiet place and thinking about this, I from now on, everybody I work with, we will sit down and do this as a part of the first thing that we do together, because for me, it showed a couple of gaps, right, that I hadn't really thought about. And I think it also, I talked to people who said, God, I mean, I don't know what I can, like, they don't think entrepreneurially. So they don't think like, what can you get paid for? That's an entrepreneur's question. Like, well, I could get paid. But does that map with your skills? Right? Do you have the skills to do that? So I've talked enough. I've taken up first 10 minutes of the show. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
Well, first of all, I'm incredibly appreciative that you're bringing this up, and one of the things I love about working with you is that part of you that researches stuff and comes up with things. And this diagram, just so the audience knows, I actually have the diagram up on my iPad while I'm speaking here so that I can look at it. This is probably one of the, as many people know, if they know me, I'm not a diagram person. I'm not. You come in with structure, and I come in a lot of times with some level of fluidity, and I think that's part of what makes us work well together, helps us work well together. I love this perspective, and this diagram. So whomever listens to this, make sure you look at this diagram when Mark puts it up. The other piece that yesterday I went down to the place where I get hay for my horses. I load up my trailer and go down and get somewhere between 2 and 3 tons of hay. And now today I'll be taking it up to where my horses are. But I was listening to Martha Beck, who wrote The Way of Integrity, which is a book that I just love. In that, part of what she was talking about was the hustle. And she was also speaking about our purpose in life. And so, and I'm actually going to get to something here that will make some sense. Part of what you're talking about this, how do you say this again?
Ikigai.
Ikigai. And that means purpose. Is that what?
Yes.
Again? What I love about this is the level of using this kind of a model for looking at our bigger purpose. Part of what Martha Beck was talking about was sometimes our purpose can be to take the garbage out. sometimes our purpose can be to promote peace. So this is a bigger picture and there's a smaller picture. But here's the piece that really struck me with this. Beck was also talking about the hustle, is that oftentimes in our business, there's a lot of hustle. And right now there's a huge amount of hustle out there on the internet and on Instagram, and there's hustle, hustle, hustle. What I love about this diagram is the intersection of all of these, of love, what we're good at, which I would probably call competency, what the world needs, and what can we be paid for. If we look at this as a whole, it takes away the hustle. And that we're doing what we're doing out of a value system versus a hustle system, which to me is one of the shifts that has really struck me over my lifetime. I mean, you mentioned you're 70, I'm 73. It's like, I get the hustle of a 35-year-old. I get the hustle of a 25-year-old. I get the hustle of somebody who's just gotten out of the military or just gotten out of college or just got out of a vocational school kind of a situation of, okay, now I got to hustle to sell myself or to sell what I can do. But again, this takes the hustle out of it and brings in a values-based process versus just a pure sales hustle of I got to make money. And we do need to do that. I mean, we do need to do that. But that's been a big shift for me over the years. It's like I'm done with the hustle. I don't want to do that anymore. And I do want to work with, and where I love the intersection here is I want to work with my passion. I want to work with mission. I want to work professionally and vocationally. And those four parts coming out of the love, what we're good at, what we can be paid for, and the needs, those parts integrated that way make a lot of sense to me. And it actually settles me inside. So what I'm wondering about is if we could help support. I would have loved to have something like this when I was 25 and for someone to sit down with me and go, take a look at it this way, because that's what part of our show is. One of the main parts of our show is what can you do when you're 25, 35, 45, 55 to not spin your wheels as much. And this would have been an amazing way to look at this.
I had thinking back, I would say the part that I was deficient in, because now I'm visualizing if this was an app, as you filled these things up, how big were the circles? So in our deal, I'm just gonna hold this up so people can see it, right? Just so
pull it back just a little bit to make it more clear. There you go.
So people can see it.
Yeah.
So me, I'm thinking of apps and visualization and all of that. If that was dynamic based on how much information you had in each one would show how big those things are. So start thinking about, the things, what I love and with my skills and all that stuff, those are pretty big. But when I was younger, I would say that what the world needs, or at least my awareness of that aspect, that dimension of my life, like that was an important dimension to have, is an understanding of what does the world need. It was this big. It was that big.
That big, huh? That's better than I was. Mine was like.
Well, that's the point, right? Is and if you're paying, that's the externality of this, right? If I'm paying attention to what the world needs as opposed to what I need, right? What I need is a hustle. I need to make some money. I need to get going. I got to pay the rent. I got to do And I am a hustler. I mean, I had that wait for the book, that lots of stuff. And I think we
No,
all
no,
have that
I
story.
get it. Totally.
Yeah. But we didn't have that. So the thing I would challenge people is like, do you really have you ever thought about what the world needs? And that's thinking about someone other than yourself. And when you combine it with what you could get paid for, maybe the thing you could do is something that the world needs.
Well, yes, and I like your phrase of it's about thinking about someone else.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Exactly.
actually so is love.
Exactly.
And where the needs and the love intersect around being a mission, that is also thinking about somebody else.
Yeah.
And um actually one of the things that the world needs is for people to stop thinking so goddamn much about themselves and begin thinking about what somebody else needs. Even in therapy school, which for those who don't know, I've been a professor for over 30 years at a couple of universities. And in therapy school, people go, well, you need to know, be able to ask for what you need. And it's like, actually, that's a true statement. We do. But we also, even more important is in a relational process is to go, what do you need? And that when we are able to do that, that allows us, like, it is important to go, what's the world need right now? What does nature need right now? What do younger people need right now? What do elders need right now? What do we need to literally sustain and help us both heal and move forward at the same time?
As we're talking about this, I'm thinking about what would it look like if you were deficient in other areas. I think that there's a lot of people out doing the hustle, and you look at them and go, how could that person be qualified to do that thing? And the what you're good at is not real big because they either don't have life experience or they've just had a narrow view. So like maybe what they're good at is like they need to keep studying things, right? Or what you can be paid for is like there's a thing I was taught to do. And so I don't have as much dimensionality in that area.
Right. One of the things that I'm seeing, especially, which I think now is different than it was when I was 20 or 30, is the whole marketing thing. What I see is a lot of people are really good at marketing, but they're not really good at what they're marketing, what they're selling in the market. Like, I might be really good at marketing, say, woodworking, but how good am I at woodworking? And so there's a level of I in the circles of what are you good at? To me, the and I like the word the wording good. To me, it's like, what are you competent at? Not just good at it, because there's something different between being good and being competent. We've talked about that before
Yeah, we have.
in the different levels of competency. But it's like, what are our values around competency? Part of what I think the world actually needs is more competency in what we do.
Again, each one of these is a whole, it feels like a whole course.
Yes.
So thinking about I love the what are you good at, because I'm always looking to add more tools to my cabinet of things. And it's when I I go to do something, I find like, gosh, I wish I was better at X,
Right.
whatever that thing is. And then, of course, I'm going to go once I've identified that, right? It becomes self aware. It's like, not so good at that. Okay, go
Yeah.
get good at it. And in my case,
Yes.
that's the action for me is okay, go get good at that thing, right? And then I obsess a little bit. That's a different that's a different conversation. But then I get good at it because I do it like currently, and people know I love to cook, and I'm a private chef, and I'm a technology guy. I love tech, and I've with AI, I've dove in with both feet, but not as much as other people, by a lot. Compared to those people, I'm maybe 5%, but my 5% is like 800% over most people. And by
Right.
doing it and having an actual thing, there's a thing I need to be good at. How do I use AI in my cooking? And every twice a
Mm,
week I cook, and I'm finding, oh, here I'll ask the prompt different, I'll ask this question different, and I'm like, I have a way I can iterate on it twice a week, get better and better and better. Same thing with our show, writing show notes and getting summarizations and all the various things I do to make producing the show easier, and then I get really good at it, right? So that's and maybe we're different because I know you're really you continue to work on uh you're learning stuff. You're a master horseman, but like you don't know everything about horses, and you know that you don't know, right?
well, that's absolutely true. And as you were talking, that's what I was thinking about is not only, and in fact, one of the things I probably spent 3 hours on last night was looking at a number of possibilities of me going and working with somebody who's way better than I am as a horseman. Now, someone would say, Dewey, are you a high level horseman? The answer is absolutely. And there are people who make me look like a beginner. And so that is one thing. The other piece that really comes in here is to begin looking at what it is, what 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 do you want and where do you want to spend your time and energy? For instance, I will never be close to where you're at with tech. I'm learning enough to sort of trip over myself less. But what I do know is your phone number. And
And
what,
and sir, I know yours.
yes, and what you know is around certain other kinds of issues, you know my phone number. And it's like I could take 45 minutes to go, I could press 400,000 keys and go, that didn't work. Or I could say, Mark, help, and you go press these two keys in this sequence. It's like, oh, okay, now I can do what I'm competent at.
And I don't have to tell you twice, as you do not have to tell me twice. That's the other interesting thing in our search for knowledge is when we find someone who is older, maybe not an elder, but an elder. And I learned this working under master chefs in my 20s. Um, don't expect that they will answer the second time if you ask the same question.
Yeah, so pay attention.
Yeah. Yeah. Once you've we did our when we had a last live call, there was like, how do I find a mentor? And I've been thinking about that, and I want to do another conversation around finding that. But
Yeah, let's do that.
when you find someone who is at a time in their life where they have time for you to take your questions and to explain things to you until you get it, and then are also competent enough to know that you got it, and they're good at explaining. So there's a dynamic between all of that that works really well. I don't, in my world, you don't get to go back to the well unless it was for a clarifying question. It's like, right?
Well, true. I'm in full agreement. And what I would say around finding a mentor is the biggest way to find a mentor is allowing yourself to be open to mentorship.
Yeah, there you go.
And also getting that you very likely will end up finding numbers of mentors that can work with and on different things with you. And so I don't know that there is such a thing as one mentor.
I agree.
There are many ways to allow ourselves to be mentored.
Well, I hope that we are mentors for the people who listen to the show by not in absentia, but I mean, in a way, virtually, just by hopefully that we are able to do that for folks. We want to remind people that you can go to the eldercouncil.com and you can see we've got curated shows in specific topics. And I'm always working on that, building out playlists around certain things that you might have a challenge or that are interesting to you, want to hear our points of view. And then at the top of the website, there's a thing called suggest a topic. So if there's something that you would love to hear us talk about, just go and fill that out. We'd love to hear from you. My friend, our time has come to an end.
Yeah, it's been a great conversation, and thank you so much.
Love you, brother.